So let's say you're stranded on an island with absolutely nothing and no way of possibly getting out of it. And don't tell me you're just gonna swim back to land either, because I know you've been skipping leg day now. Although to your convenience, a sailor comes along shore and is willing to help you get back on land, but with a price. And not just any monetary price, but a test. To really see if you're worthy coming back to the mainland, which, to be honest, I don't blame him. So in order for you to pass, all you need to do is solve this math function with two following decimal digits rounded up. So you're probably thinking to yourself right now, well, might as well just die alone here on this sad island, or possibly try and solve what looks like an impossible equation for the life of you. Literally. Now, for those of you who have very likely forgotten everything in this math course already, let me remind you there is a way to solve something like this, which, fun fact, is also the way your calculator works too. This magical strategy uses something called a power series, or more specifically, the Taylor series, or if you're just really extra, the Maclaurin series. At the end of the day, they all just mean the same thing when a series is centered at zero. And this silly looking formula is what's going to save your life. So what the hell even is this thing again? Well, I'm assuming that for most of you, it's just another one of those formulas on your formula sheets that you just use without even knowing what it is to not fail miserably on your exams. Which, fair enough, I won't blame you, but I feel like something as important as this should be looked more in deeply, since this is basically what's running in every math computing calculator everywhere. Alright, so let's go all the way back in history to Calc 1 and see where this thing even comes from in the first place. Remember this? Yup, it's the basic formula of the Taylor series, which pretty much gave everyone who was first learning about it a good heart attack. And since we're dealing with a series centered at zero, this means that all the a variables are replaced with zeros instead. And now we're left with this, the Maclaurin series. Now, how this turned into this, let's just take some quick derivatives of cosine of 0 so we can get a feel of what this nth derivative of f of 0 is. Here they are. Pretty easy, right? The 0th derivative is just the original function, which is just cosine of 0, which equals 1. The first derivative is negative sinus of 0, which just equals 0. Second derivative is negative cosine of 0, which just equals negative 1, and so on. Basic stuff, really. So now let's plug in all of these numbers back to our nifty formula here, and let me just expand the series a bit to see what's really going on. After some quick simplification, we can start to see that a pattern emerges. This series alternates from a value and 0 throughout the whole thing, so we're only going to take those numbers to account. This is represented by the 2n factorial from the formula here, so we're only going to take in the second corresponding value, which same goes with the x to the power of 2n as well. We can also see that it's alternating from a positive and negative value here, which is why we have that negative 1 to the power of n to accommodate it. Okay, so now that we know where this thing comes from, what the hell do we do with it now? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because that sailor is starting to get impatient with you. Since this power series represents the Taylor series of cosine of x centered at 0, all we have to do is replace x with what we need. And in this case, when x equals 2. And since we only need a number with 2 decimal placements, having 6 derivatives should be good enough. You quickly do all the now easier math on the sand, plug in all the numbers you need, and end up with a number of negative 0.42. The sailor gives a quick glance at your answer and approves of it. He lets you hop on, and hooray! You're now saved from that deserted cosineless 2 island. So now that you're saved, you can get back on track on learning the rest of Calc 2 and the Pringle chip function. So the next time you need to solve cosine of 2 to save yourself from a deserted island, you'll know exactly what to do. Or just hope that the person saving it won't ask you any math questions in the first place.